What's up, Southwest Virginia? Welcome back to Beats, Brews, and Buddies, episode 11. My name is Travis Schmidt, and this is...
Jeremy Price.
Jeremy Price here, ladies and gentlemen. Today on our beat, or what we talk about, we're going to talk about what's it like being a female lead, balancing a full band versus playing solo, and making a name for yourself here in Roanoke with our good buddy, Charissa Joy. Give it up for Charissa Joy, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
You are welcome.
Hello.
Thanks for coming.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
It's good to meet you.
Yeah.
You too.
At our briefing. We
Yes,
have both
yes.
a briefing and a debriefing. It's good to meet you.
Yes.
And neither one of us really know her. So
No, I've seen you around like maybe Facebook things, and
Yeah.
I've been around the scene a long time, and it's cool to have somebody in here that I do not know, and I hope it's cool
Here I am.
the other way.
I was like, yeah, I'll come sit in your basement and hang out. Never met you before.
It's not weird at all.
Not weird at all.
Well, I'm glad we worked that out.
11's my favorite number, by the way.
Is it?
Yep.
11.
Oh man, 6 is mine. I don't know why I told everybody that, but
Because I told you mine was 11. And
I
this is
didn't. I
episode
felt
11.
like I had to. I
Oh.
felt like I shouldn't be like that. Jeremy, what are we drinking today?
beer.
We are drinking beer.
Oh man, am I in control of this story?
I think so.
You were
Let's
all
do
about
this.
this
So
story.
listen, it was really. Where do I start? I had to go get beer. Charissa had a very specific beer that she loves, and we made a bunch of phone calls, and we found one keg of this at Parkway Brewing. It is there. Say the name again.
Save the Galaxy.
Save the Galaxy. She loves it. I love this podcast. I love what we got going on here, and I found time in the day to go get this beer. I went and got this beer. Your friend hooked it up. What's his name?
Joel made a phone call for me and called Bridget, who is a lady behind the counter and does all sorts of stuff there. Right?
Yeah, she's like manager over
Manager.
there.
That's right. I
Yeah,
forgot
yeah.
she's manager.
So my understanding is there was just one keg. Maybe there were a couple kegs, but they were not taps.
There was no bottles, I was told, and there was one keg and no bottles.
Yeah, because
nothing.
it's probably on its way out soon. It's been
Yeah,
around
it's
for
very
a little bit.
seasonal.
And it's very seasonal, so
Okay.
it could be coming to an end soon.
Parkway Brewing tapped this keg and filled up a growler for us and gave us a industry discount. And man, we need to talk with Parkway more because I can't think. I walked in with our Beats Brews and Buddies shirt on. I didn't really realize I had it on, and she knew who I was and gave us the beer and said, you know what, we're going to talk about you guys tonight. It's also a venue in town. I've played there several times. Everybody in this room has played there. They support local music. They brew great beer, and they gave us a growler for the show. Right? Here's what happened. I went and taught a few lessons. Had a conversation or two with Travis, and on the way over here, the growler blew up in the floor of my truck. So it's there if you want to drink it.
Just in
But-
the floorboard.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. It blew up into 4 giant pieces, and the moment it blew up, I knew it was an IPA. And I thought, you know what? I took a quick video. I sent to Travis, and I stopped at the next convenience store and got Parkway's Get Bent IPA. So we still have an IPA from Parkway. We're still going with Parkway
Still
for the day.
delicious as well.
So that is what we're drinking, the Get Bent Mountain IPA. And cheers to Parkway for what they did today. And
Cheers.
hopefully
Love
we'll be
you,
in touch
Parkway.
soon. Cheers.
Cheers.
Clink, clink.
So, Charissa Joy is a singer-songwriter featuring powerhouse vocals while backing herself up on acoustic guitar with influences of pop, folk, jazz, and R&B. After some years spent in Ohio and then Los Angeles, California, finishing up her undergraduate and graduate degree, she came back to her hometown, Roanoke, Virginia, in 2015 and began playing solo at various venues around the area. Her performances feature a selection of original tunes and a wide variety of her own interpretations of modern songs. In August of 2021, she formed her full band, Charissa Joy, and the High Frequency, featuring Henry,
Lazenby.
Lazenby and, on lead guitar, Wyatt Allen on bass, and Mason Janelle
Mason
on drum.
Janelle.
I know. We know that guy.
He's a cool guy.
And you can find her rocking solo or her full band at many times, at many of the music spots in town from Parkway Brewing. clinkety clink, to Star Hill, to Spot on Kirk, and to Martin's, just to name a few. Welcome, Charissa Joy.
Yeah.
Hello.
So, Charissa, here on Beats, Brews, and Buddies, you know, we talk about the music scene around here, and my only experience with you was you opened up for House of Schmidt a few years ago for why is it drawn?
Chillage.
Grand and Chillage, thank you.
Grand and Chillage.
Names. Yeah. And like I remember JoJo Stockton was there, and you were playing with him, and then you were doing this whole solo thing, and then a few years later, I'm looking on Facebook, and you're full band.
Ooh.
Is that exciting for you? What's that like? Because how long have you been playing solo?
I've been playing solo pretty much. When I came back 2015, I kind of just started to venture out. JoJo was a big part of that too. We started hosting a thing at Wall Street Tavern back when that was a thing, doing like an unplugged thing, and we'd take turns, you know, just hosting that and bringing people in to play with that. But he was just always a big supporter, you know, let me get up there, jump up, sing with him, and started opening for people, and then started booking my own little solo shows here and there, and built from there, and, you know, was always wanting the band thing to be a thing, but it's one of those things, you know, you got to meet the right people, and then when everybody else already has their own projects, their own things they're doing, and it's like, so when that finally sort of materialized, I guess it was just the right time, you know, and it's really exciting.
We've talked a lot about that, finding that right time for certain groups, and I mean that's great to hear that you're there. How many times have you guys played recently?
Oh gosh. Actually, it's funny. I looked on my like Insta story memories today, and like 1 year ago today was kind of our first little initial just get together and jam and see how we all fit together. And that was the first time Mason had met Wyatt. He had never met Wyatt before. And Henry kind of helped find everybody and put them together. And, you know, then we were like, wow, this clicks. This works. Let's do this, you know? So we kind of kept getting together to practice, and then we were like, all right, let's like get a show on the books so we have something to work towards, and just kind of all took off from there. And now here we are like a year later, and we've been playing, you know, Martin's is a big supporter for us. We play over at Sweet Donkey Coffee Parkway. We've played quite a bit.
Y'all play at Sweet Donkey?
We do.
Is it like an outside thing?
Yeah, we're out on the porch for Friday Food Truck and Tunes every Friday. It's a pretty cool event.
Every Friday?
Every Friday. We've got a whole little beer garden outside.
Why did I not know about this?
I know so many people don't know. It's the coolest little spot in town you didn't know about.
Yeah, but I didn't know there's like outside music every Friday. Like,
it is. I mean,
all
unless
over
it's
the
raining.
place.
the smile on my face, man. This is why we do it.
Yep. It's a good spot. And so yeah, I think Sweet Donkey was our very first show. I was like, okay, because I also work there. That's like my day job, making coffee there. And I was like, all right, this will be perfect little intro show. We'll just dive in at my home away from home. And
It's nice to have a home base.
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is. Love that place. And you know, that's it's good to have that.
I miss my home base. God rest Billy's Barn.
Oh,
I know.
R.I.P. Oh.
So chatted them. They're definitely missed. So talk to our listeners about being a solo artist. What's the setup like? What's it been like for you, and what's it like to run a crowd by yourself?
I love being a solo artist. I love that I have the option to just do it myself. Like I can just show up and it's just me and my guitar, and I can like entertain a crowd like all on my own. I don't have to have somebody else with me to do it or whatever. Which is great. That just, you know, I guess feels empowering in some sort of way. You know, I don't have to rely on anybody else to be able to do something. Setup, I try to go as easy as possible. I have a great little Bose L1 compact system. I got it Stage Sound years ago when I was first getting started. Best idea ever. It sounds great.
Is that one of those long, tall column type?
And it just all breaks down into one thing. It's so perfect.
Fantastic.
And it sounds great. Like the sound covers everything. And I just plugged straight into the thing now. I used to kind of have the mixer and whatever, but I'm a pretty, you know, simple woman. So I was like, I don't really need all these effects or anything. I'm not doing too much fancy with that. I was like, I'm just going to plug straight into this thing and just play.
Let it do its job.
Let it do its job.
Those things sound great. It's like you put like 14 2-inch speakers in a stick.
Yeah.
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought?
Who?
Like everyone's always
thought?
like, "Is that it?" Like they're like, "There's no way this is gonna be."
What
enough
if
for
what
me."
if you were that guy? You're like, hey guys, you work not stage sound. Let's say you work at Bose. Let's say you work at PV, whatever it is. If PV still does that stuff, I'm showing my age. You walk into like the room. You're like, guys, we're doing it all wrong. We need to put 17 2-inch speakers
6 feet
in a
tall.
little stick,
Just
6 feet tall.
I promise it's gonna work.
and everybody would hate it. And you put together, and they love it. That happens all the time. Anyway, I like those things too.
Yeah,
keep going.
They're very great. And yeah, so that's my pretty easy setup. I just roll that thing in there, which is fantastic. And
You've had that since you came back to Roanoke?
pretty much.
Was
since
that one
I
of your
started.
first buys?
It was. That was like when I really was like, okay, I'm like booking things now. I gotta like get something because my only other option, my dad, bless his heart, so my dad was a pastor and he had an old sound system from a church back in the day, still, but it was like the big heavy like
passive speakers.
Oh yeah, you
They're
had to
heavy.
bring the amp.
Yeah.
None of it was powered. I was like, "There's no way I'm dragging this whole like church sound system around."
Those 1/4-inch cables don't feel like 1/4-inch cables because they're so
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah,
They feel like climbing ropes.
Yeah. Play on.
I'm gonna rappel.
Yeah.
I'll see you on
I was
stage.
like, I just don't think this is gonna work for me. So, yeah, best investment ever. Highly recommend for any solo people out there. And then just like running a crowd by myself, I guess is fun. I kind of was like, well, I think it depends on the crowd. Sometimes you go in and it's like, wow, this is awkward. But for the most part,
I love that answer. It is awkward.
it can be really awkward.
It makes
I'm
me
just being
super
real.
uncomfortable just talking about it right now.
Literally.
No, I'm
can
dead
you
serious.
feel it?
I'm very uncomfortable.
There's another, every venue's different. And, a lot of times, I don't know. It's funny. I'll finish a show and I'll think that was just so awkward. Like nobody was into this. And they'll come up and be like, oh, that was great. And I'm like, really? Because it was just like awkward crickets afterward every time. Not that you got to be like, woo, but I'm like, is anybody listening? Like it's hard to.
Are you actually enjoying yourselves out there?
Because
Yeah.
you want the energy of the crowd. And when I can't like feel any interaction, I'm like, oh God, they hate it. They hate it. Oh no. Then you like get in your head. But no, for the most part, usually if I can get a little bit of a read and I'm like, oh, okay, they're liking this, they're whatever. And then I can get a little more comfortable with, just, I don't know.
There's got to be a sense of confidence that you have to go out there and play solo. I'll be honest, not for me, and that's fine.
Yeah.
It's just not my shtick. But like, I really admire people that go out and do it, and you've done it for so long. I mean,
What was awkward for me was the band thing. I played in bands in church, but I was like, can I like be the front person with like a band? Like, what do I do? Do I need a tambourine? Like, do I flip my hair around? Like, what do I do? Solo, it's like, okay, I've got my guitar, I've got my thing, I know what I'm doing. Like, it's just, me in the room and I can just like, so for me, the band thing was like scarier than the solo thing, which I guess is weird, but I'd just done the solo thing for so long. I was like, well, I know how to do that, it's weird sometimes, but
Well, you step out there solo, you got a job, and you know what that job is.
Right.
Yeah, and we can talk about the discrepancies or how you may approach. So in a band, you're a piece of a puzzle. So it just sounds like you put your mind where it should be in those two different paradigms.
Right,
there.
right. Yeah. Try to anyway. Don't ask the guys.
At least for the first set. At least for the first set.
what's like song choices like for you solo? I mean, obviously.
Oh, hey. You know how we were just talking at the briefing?
Oh yeah, sorry.
By the way, the briefing is just where we eat some cheese, crackers, and we pregame and talk about, make sure we're on the same page.
My wife or I make a lovely charcuterie for
Every
each
stinking time.
Brews and Buddies.
And I just blow beer up in my truck. We were talking at today's briefing about a good friend of mine mentioned the idea of having a little bit of controversy on the podcast, which I don't fully agree with. I don't disagree with, though. But it's something in Charissa's bio about your own interpretations of songs. I think it's time to start putting some, get people's undies in a bunch. I think this will be because you're asking her about your own interpretations of songs, right? And there seems to be two trains of thought here, and they are going opposite directions. You either do your own best version of a song, or you do the song just like what it is. And I think I'm going to start this fire today.
Start
Not
it.
if we're starting it now, cool. If we're starting it later in the podcast, cool. But I know there's some folks coming up on the podcast that I've worked with them, and I know their opinions, and I know my opinion, and I think this would be a nice little campfire to start.
Yes. All right.
Anyway, shout out to Aaron for mentioning. Shout out to
Here we
Mr.
go.
Aaron Barnes for mentioning the. You guys need more controversy, and I was like, not really. It's not really what we're doing, but at the same time, I fully understand that idea, and this would be a gentle one to get into. But sorry to interrupt you.
No,
but you can see I marked it. I was like, ooh, own interpretations of songs, because I get hype around this.
So
Here we go. If I start crying, I'm sorry. No, I'm just kidding.
answer him first, because it'll lead into my question.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. What was the? Sorry. What was the? What was the?
What is it? What do you mean by your own interpretation of modern songs?
I think I try to take, because I do mostly covers. That's mostly what I do. I do have originals. I feel like most people at bars, I don't know. I'm trying to get better at like playing my own stuff out, but yeah. So when I play my covers, I try to like put my own spin on that, and especially when you're playing stuff just acoustic and it's just me and like female vocals, I try to, I don't know, just like put a twist on things, whether it's mashups or whether it's I do honestly. I probably sing a lot more songs by dudes than I do chicks, and so I kind
Do you
of
whistle the guitar solos?
sometimes.
Okay.
No, I don't whistle. Actually, usually I'll probably like sing like if I do like sitting on the dock of the bay, I'm not gonna whistle at the end. I'm gonna just do the little, I'm not gonna try to do that. No, usually I just skip over the guitar solo part. I'll either do like a vocal like ad lib, or I'll just like, we're gonna skip the instrumental interlude. Nobody wants to hear
Go
me play
straight
rhythm
for-
guitar for like.
Go straight for the fourth chorus.
Yeah,
Everybody
yeah.
sing along. Here we go. All right. No, I mean that's important to know, I think, especially for our younger listeners who are trying to venture out that way and trying to understand what to do with the cover song.
Right. Well, I think for me, I felt, like when I was first starting out, and I'm like, okay, like I play guitar, I do solid rhythm guitar, but it's like when you hear something, you're like, well, I'm not going to be able to do that. So then I was like, well, I guess I just can't do anything. And I finally had to just get myself to a point where it's like, no, I have to just figure out, how can I do it? How can I make it my own thing that fits what I do, that fits my style, that fits what I'm capable of doing, and go from there. And it's kind of just built as I've done this for years now, because at first it felt like such a overwhelming thing for me. Like I was like, I'll never have, enough songs, and I'll never have like whatever. And, now it's like second nature. I'm like, oh, I like how that sounds. Let me figure out how I can like play that my way, and I just had to get out of my head about like, okay, it's either got to be the best, most exact cover of this song, or it's got to be, I don't know. Yeah, I just had to get to that place so that I was playing out and not holding myself back just based on feeling inadequate somehow.
Sure.
So.
No, that makes perfect sense. I my follow-up question to that is, with your modernization of it, do you find yourself, and you said, you even mentioned that you tend to kind of go towards min songs. Do you change a lot of the keys? Do you
Capos are my friend. I like capos. I also
there's a controversy right there. I know guitar
Controversial.
players that would just got so mad at me with playing good.
Man, I wish.
Keep
Maybe
going. Sorry.
shouldn't have
don't
said
ask
anything.
don't ask Henry. No, I'm just kidding. He loves it. I'm just kidding. I don't. Luckily, I have a probably higher range comparatively to a lot of, like, I'm more in soprano realm, so a lot of times I can kind of like jump an octave or make something work, and that, I guess, aids to my advantage. A lot of times I'm like, oh yeah, I can probably like figure out a way to do that. I mean, obviously when I'm playing solo, I try to figure out like, just what feels best for me.
Well, you said you studied music in pre.
I did, yeah. I was voice applied, so I studied voice in college. So that was my focus in my music degree. So I did.
Was that your undergraduate?
Mm-hmm. That was my undergrad.
Where did you go, if you don't mind sharing?
I went to a school called Mount Vernon Nazarene University. It's like a liberal arts college in Ohio, and I studied. It was like a hybrid degree of like music and religion, so I kind of got a little bit of both. Religion. But yeah, I was.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, music theory was not my strong point, but I did it. I got through it. I squeaked by. My brain just doesn't work in those mathematical ways. But, singing was always what I did. So I was always in choir doing all of that. I can hear all the harmonies and do all the things. I just can't always say exactly what they are.
Or explain it.
Yeah. I'm not great at explaining it. But I'm like, I don't know. I just like hear this thing. And
It just comes natural.
something like that. Yeah.
That was a compliment. Thanks. Because I can't do it either. So
Yeah, music theory might be one of the most taboo music subjects on the planet. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
I've never taken a class. I never had trouble understanding it.
Yeah.
And granted, I'm talking about level 1, level 2. I work. I do a lot of teaching. I work with a lot of academic musicians. I'm not saying they can't play. I'm just saying you can take music theory to a level that's like, okay, it's just not fun, at least for me.
Yeah.
And I understand it being fun for them, but like general music theory, I love it. That algebra made sense to me at an early age.
Yeah.
But it's only useful if the other person can speak the language.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here listening to that, and that makes perfect sense. That's true. I mean,
If the other person doesn't speak it, then you might as well speak Spanish to them. If the other person does speak it, well, then you guys can speak Spanish to each other.
Yeah.
No, not to equate music theory to Spanish. I'm afraid to say anything these days. But it's foreign in an aspect, and that's what I mean by that. So if you can, it really helps.
Yeah.
And if you can't, it's useless.
well, you're not our first music major on the podcast. So we've had
5.
several. Our pilot episode, which hasn't been released yet, is my brother, and that you get a taste of that later. And we talked about we talked about music theory with him.
He's high level.
If you're listening now, you've already heard Maestro Wiley on the show, and then Mike Havens was another one. He was a music major. I'm trying to think of anybody else.
Lauren was.
Laura was, and then switched to psych and bio, and then she was doing vocal at Radford. Yeah,
I mean, Maestro is about as high level as you get.
Yeah.
Your brother's quite high level. Yeah, I mean, it's not like one's right or wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It's honestly not like yin or yang either. It's not like the dark side and the light side, the cold side, the hot side. It's just a different way to communicate the information, and that way works.
Mm-hmm.
But if the other person doesn't speak it, it doesn't.
So how do you communicate that with your band members? How do you communicate? No, I mean, because you said this was what's difficult for you. So I'm going off script.
Well, normally I'm like, okay, I'm like sticking this here and I'm playing these like, I don't know, tell me what it is, because they know what it is, and I'm like, I don't know.
She's sticking the capo, guys.
Oh yeah,
It's the capo.
And then finally I was just like, I don't have to play that much. Like, you guys just, you just take over, because they're all like nerding out on stuff, and I'm just over here like.
Wait, your guys? Who's a music theory guy in this band?
I mean, Henry and Wyatt both just have like such an understanding of things. I mean, Mason's
beautiful.
great too. Mason and I just always stand in the corner and kind of.
So I'm gonna give you a half and half on Mason. I've played with Mason. I taught Mason for a long time.
Yeah,
actually.
And Mason
He's
was
amazing.
also, so when Jeremy left teaching drumline, I became the drumline. So
He became the drumline
instructor. Sorry.
Oh.
So I played with Mason along.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Well, I had never played music with Mason. I was a teacher until the Michael Jackson project.
Yeah.
And I played guitar in that.
Oh, what?
I didn't play drums. Yeah. And Mason, man, I hope you're listening to this, brother. I haven't talked to you in a long time. I miss you. Love you.
Oh.
He's turned out to be an awesome drummer who doesn't give a crap about what you think about his drumming. And that's why he's a good drummer.
yeah, he's
I love
fantastic.
And that is not
Chucklehead, we call
theoretical.
him.
That's literal. And I'm happy to see him play. I used to come in from tour and see him play, and all these drummers that I taught at one point. I'm like, God, look at you guys. Just so it made me very happy. But in that band, if something either sounded good or it didn't sound good, and if anybody was going to voice it, it was him.
Oh yeah.
And I love it. I love it. You know, I have no problem taking a back seat or a side seat and just watching things go down. But that kid's been playing around here for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
He's just another
amazing.
product of the area. I'm very proud of him, if that means anything.
No, it does. 100%. Great family too. All right, so let's switch gears. What's it like being the only female in a band of boys, and what advice do you have for our younger listeners? We asked this to Laura because Laura was one of 8 with House of Schmidt, and we're a lot, and I get that. We could be a lot and big personalities and lots of cooks in the kitchen and all whatever metaphor you want to use, right? So
Right.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, when we had that initial thing, it was like we just all clicked. And I mean, I'd known them all from various things around town. Of course, you know, they're all in their own various other bands and things as well. And we just all got together, and it was a good mix. We all clicked really well. You know, I kind of feel like it's like having 3 other brothers. I have an older brother of my own in real life, and it's like, oh, I just have like 3 more guys. Like we all get along great, and you know, it's fun. We can have a good time joking around, and then Wyatt will bring us back in. He's like, all right, focus. Mason and Charissa, they're getting off track over here.
I can imagine. I've only met you for this long, and I know that kid in that setting, and that sounds fun.
But yeah, it's great. I love all those guys, and they're all super talented, and it's good. And they've really helped me out, you know, because I mean, I was like, this is my first time doing this, and they've just been great about kind of taking me in and making me feel like, you know, you can do this. Like, this is your thing. Like, do it. And they've been, you know, very encouraging and very like, you know, this is good. Like, this is good what we're doing. And
Well, it's nice that they play with other groups.
Yeah.
And so they've had that experience, and you've had your own experience. And so combining that, I mean. Yeah,
it's been real. Again, we haven't even been a band for a full year yet, in terms of like, our first gig was in August of last year. And, you know, the fact that, you know, even with a little bit of a hiatus in between, because our bass player had a baby around like Thanksgiving, but it just picked right back up, and we've been able to just jump in there and stay relevant and keep playing. And, it's good. It's exciting. For me, it's very exciting. I'm like, okay, this is finally like, you know, taking off. So it's exciting.
It truly is different.
Yeah.
It's a different atmosphere. It's a different vibe playing in front of people too versus solo.
Definitely.
I would assume.
Yeah, which again felt really scary at first, and then I just got up there and I was like, oh, okay, this works. It's like a whole different feeling, but in a good way. I sort of like, you know, take on that like full band persona, and it's great.
So what have you learned about being the female lead on stage, and what's it? What do you got to wear? Like, what's it like performing live? I mean, I asked that because I feel like there's stigmas, and Laura talked about that stigma in our last episode, and I just think I want. And you're also our second female,
right? Like I was
so
like,
I don't know. Maybe you have a different opinion.
Laugh. I'm like, well, you know, things guys don't have to think about. You know, I mean, not
talk
that,
about that. That's fair.
I mean, I think the reality is, you know, and I think for me personally, my personality, and anybody that knows me, like, you know, I love fashion. I love clothes. That's sort of, you know, if you see me out on the street on a day when I'm going out, I'm probably going to be a little flashy and extra anyway. That's like kind of my style. So of course, when I like had a band, for me, it's like, I love to go up there and feel, you know, it's fun to just be able, it's like, ooh, this is my like rock star wear, you know, I go into rock star mode, you know, and I can just like wear the like crazy outfit, and it's like the thing, you know, it's and if I feel good up there, I feel like it helps me vibe on stage, you know. Is that what you have to do? No.
Well, it probably helps the guys too.
Well, I mean, I feel like
your energy is what I'm talking about. Your energy matters to everybody else.
Right.
And it did to me with Laura. Like when Laura was energized and felt the crowd and felt comfortable with who she was.
Right.
It made me want to play better too.
Right. And I think that's, you know, something that I needed, and it sort of helps me. Like I said, I sort of get to transform into that like on stage, you know, persona, and that feels part of it for me. I love like getting the, you know, it's like, oh man, this necklace is like so extra. I'm gonna get that. It's like, you know, I mean, I'll probably still wear it out on a regular night too, but I'm like, okay, this won't be as weird if it's like for a show. You know, but that's not what everybody does. You know, some ladies are super fine just showing up and doing their thing, and you know, I'm not sure I think it would be different for like what I'm doing if I just showed up in like jeans and a t-shirt, you know, like like the guys get to. But you know, I still think they'd hear it and be like, oh, you know, and I don't think the focus would be on that anymore, you know, once they heard it.
Well, Laura talked a lot about the sexualization of the job, I guess, and like how it is sexualized in a very much sense, and that she was trying to find her own balance with that, and you know, but also what her comfort level was. And so I asked that to be controversial in a sense. I want to know, and I think our younger listeners need to know, and other women out there need to know if it's. We're
working on it.
Well,
it's PG-13.
I mean,
it's PG-13. We're getting there.
I mean, I will say, like, my initial thought when I like read the question, and I was like, well, do they ask the guys what they wear to a show?
No,
we're going to.
Please.
We're going to.
Well, I got this other band T-shirt that like is different from the other band T-shirt that I wore the other time.
I'm offended of your guy impression. Not really.
That's an extremely fair question, though. Like, no, I haven't. I have not asked that of other guys, and I asked that of the women because I'm purposely trying to pull conversation that we don't talk about here or with each other, and I think it does need to be.
Who's our next guest?
I gotta look at the schedule. I think it's Dan Keeley. I think it's Laura's dad. I think.
Find out what he's wearing right now.
It's probably a button up.
Give me his number.
What are you wearing? Sorry, I just made that weird.
Solid points though. It's you. We never ask. We never ask. And that's fair AF.
Fair AF.
Fair AF. So you can rest assured, I'm going to be asking every dude. You'll get about 4 episodes out of me before I forget. I'll be like, "What do you wear on stage, bruh?"
I hope he asked me to remind me to put it on the call sheet.
Yes.
No, I got this. I'm not going to forget because I'm making this big of a deal out of it. But it is fair. It is fair, and it's even we could go a little further. Like being a drummer, I never respond to those texts because my drum set will always be prettier than I am.
Mason, do you hear that?
Yeah, but no, because I'm always like, well, that doesn't really. First, there's 2 things. There's a giant piece of equipment in front of me that's prettier than I am, and I am in the back. I never respond. I know there are plenty of arguments, but I make sure I don't stand out too much is my goal. But whoever's coming up next, you better look nice when you pull up. Pull up looking good, smelling good. Get you some Dracar Noir before you walk up in here.
So you would agree that there are stigmas in it?
Definitely. I mean, whether it's with what you're wearing, with you know, I know for me when I read that, and I think like the stigma, I know I've walked into a place. I've had men just straight out be surprised. They're like, "Oh, you're like playing for yourself and like singing? Wow." You know, like what are you gonna do? Like, how do you do this?
That makes me so angry.
And it's like, I'm gonna play for myself for 3 hours and I'm
gonna do it without you.
It's like
kind of hope you leave, bro.
That, or like I've genuinely had people look at me. They like saw me come in, and then afterwards they're like, "Man, I really didn't think it was gonna be good, but then it was good." And I'm like, "Thank you." I think
I call those pseudo compliments.
It's like a weird underhanded, like
backhanded.
Yeah.
And I know some of that is, you know, they see a chick walk in, they think it's just gonna, you know, they sort of already have their presumptions about what that's gonna be, and then they're surprised when that isn't what it is, and they're like, "Oh, well, that was enjoyable, huh?" I didn't know. I didn't know I could sit here and have a couple beers and enjoy listening to this woman playing guitar.
Her man impression is improving.
It's changed now.
I'm gloriously offended. I love it.
It's gonna keep getting better once I tap into this second get bent.
Man, okay, so I wish Ryan were here. Chris, you're very animated. I'm really enjoying it. It's probably why I'm trying to start small fires over here. Ryan's not here. So our last 6 episodes have been video, and he's throwing highlights up. So we'll have you back for sure, or have you on one of the round tables we were telling you about.
Absolutely.
Female vocalist.
Let's go.
Obviously has to be a round table, but I'm sad because we're over here. I mean, we're really shooting some shit on this one, and
You're missing out, Ryan.
Thank you.
I hope your vacation is really enjoyable.
He's probably at a bar listening to a female performer judging. I'm kidding. He doesn't do that. He doesn't do that.
I can't wait for him.
I
to hear
do.
this.
I judge everything. If you sit here and tell me you don't judge things, you're not living life. I mean, you have to judge things.
Well, it's true.
Is
true.
Yeah. Is it safe to cross the road? You have to judge that.
Which I love surprising them. I love that, they're like, oh well, okay.
Do you really though, or does it feel like a burden? Because the way you just explained it was lovely, and I know you obviously are talented. You're playing a lot of. I mean, you've not only you're fronting your own thing, like you started it, and we don't talk a lot about that on the show. Starting a project. Everybody in Roanoke has a project, and they're incestuous in a way because they offer their talents to other projects. I do it. Travis does it. We all do it. Being the inception of something is also very difficult, and it seems like that's what happened here. So I know you enjoy surprising them, but it's also irritating. On the other hand, you're like, okay, so you just assume that I can't do this on my own.
Definitely.
Not only can I go do it, I'm the one that formulated this whole project. I'm the one that got these boys together. That's not a question on the list, but go ahead and talk about that.
Well, Henry was a big part of it too,
Okay.
and it was Henry and I having some conversations, and I was like, I really want to do this band thing, and he was looking for something else as well, and so. Of course, he's always played with Mason. He plays in Mason with Warchild, also an amazing band. Love you, Warchild, Brown Gray. And so they had already played together in that. And so that sort of just naturally came together. And back, 2018, 2019, I had actually went to audition for Groovescape when that initially they were switching singers and looking for someone else, and I actually went to Mason's basement to try out for Groovescape. I didn't really know enough Janis Joplin to really jump right into that the way that they needed, but Henry and Mason both were like, we like what you're doing. They remember that moment, and we didn't even really know each other at that time, and they were like, we love what you're doing, but they just needed somebody that could come in and just do that right off the bat. But then fast forward to now, and it all just sort of transpired. And then Henry was the one that reached out to Wyatt, which I had known Wyatt from just different things. He's good friends with, if anybody knows the Mescos, Brian Mesco and Melissa. And so I knew him from some of those circles, and I was like, oh, Wyatt's amazing. Let's do that. And then boom, here we are.
I love hearing stories like that. I just think it's really cool how you have an opportunity years ago, and people remember you from that opportunity. That's how things have worked out for me, and I know that's kind of how things have worked out for you too. Just in a sense, so that's really, really cool.
Yeah. Which is one of the things I love about the Roanoke music community. I just feel like there's this connection, as much as it can sometimes be somewhat incestuous as well. But there is this genuine just connection and support that I feel from so many people in a way that, people are like, why don't you go to a bigger seat, whatever. And I'm like, there is just something really special here. And that's, I love it.
Look at all the places you played at.
Yeah.
I mean, just looking at your Facebook and just from Grand and Chillin is no joke.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of people, and I know they only play 6-7 shows every year. Seasonal, right? And those were some of the biggest shows I've ever played at.
And once you start, I even got to, she's a big name now, but I got to open for Morgan Wade years ago for this thing with the Salem Civic Center. I was kind of the in-between music when they did the strings and things, outdoor market thing. And this was back, before she totally blew up, but she came up and she was like, I know you. You're the acoustic girl in town, and I was like, can I just put that in my
put that on your resume?
Morgan Wade said that.
We got some info about what's going on with her a few weeks ago on the podcast. She's just another person from town doing really, really, really well. And you said people are mentioning to you, why not go somewhere else? We're not nothing here. Like,
No.
and it took me a long time to really embrace it. I had to travel the world to even begin to acknowledge it. We're not. Like, there's so many folks playing with top-notch artists. I can speak to Jimmy Buffett, Michael Bublé. I can speak to some heavy names, and those cats live here. They don't necessarily come back here and play because they don't have to. But this place facilitates and fosters that progression a lot. And it's tiny. It's teeny. Come jump in our bubble. But I'm glad you said what you said.
No, really appreciate
that would be a highlight
because it's a cool bubble to be in.
Yeah, I love it. That's why I stay here. All my family moved away. Actually, like Nashville area. My brother lives out there, so my folks retired, and they were kind of the last of immediate family that I had here. And everybody's like, "You're not going to go out there?" I'm like, "No, I'm staying here."
Did you ever get to play out in California?
I was still very much in my church world thing. I mean, I was playing in like church settings out there. My one fun thing I did get to do out there. This is a fun story. So I had a neighbor in my apartment I lived in. I was in Pasadena, California, specifically in LA. And I remember I was like practicing next door. You know, it's like these old apartments. Of course, the soundproofing isn't great. And I'm over there like practicing for something like singing. And all of a sudden I just like hear this knock on my door and my neighbor's standing there and she's like holding money and she's like in tears and she was like, that was just beautiful. She's like, I write songs and I'm trying to find someone to come do like the vocal demos to try to like sell my songs to people. And she's like, I would just love if you would come do this for me. Like, here's my song, blah, blah, blah. So I end up like going to this studio. It's the same studio that like Fifth Harmony recorded in and the same guy that like did their producing at the time and whatever. And I got to go like sing in this recording studio to record this voice demo from my neighbor that heard me singing next door.
That is cool.
I was like,
that's some LA-ish right there.
That is some LA-ish.
Let me offer that scenario to my dad. Hey, Dad, I'm just gonna write tunes and hopefully hear a great singer in the apartment next to me and pay them to sing the tune because I'm not a good singer, but I have a good understanding of music and melody. It'll never happen here. I'm going to move to LA to do it.
Yeah. You got to do it there. You know,
boy, get a job.
Make sure to get like, a real old apartment that's, So yeah, that was my one. And then I worked at a coffee shop out there as well. And like towards the end, I kind of played a few little like solo shows there and stuff at the end. But I didn't do a whole lot with that when I was out there. But once I moved back and was kind of shifting gears from sort of the church setting I'd been in, and I was like, I still want to play music. So I was like, all right, let's figure this out, and started figuring out my sets and working on stuff and finally got myself to write some songs and do all of that. And then now here we are. And
it's work though.
It's work. It's work. And when, I know for me personally, I struggled with a lot of just like insecurities and feeling inadequate with my abilities just from various experiences I'd had in my life. And it was a lot of work for me to feel like I could do it. And I had to really overcome a lot of that to feel like, people wanted to hear what I was doing. And that was a process. It's still a process. I'm still continually like fighting my own, inner voice that's like, oh, I don't know, that wasn't, like X, Y, and Z, or it wasn't this and that.
Well, let's be honest. There's not many of you. There's not many female lead rock artists out there. Not in this town, at least. Yeah. If there are, please come see me. Please come. No,
you're not. You don't have to back up from that statement at all because there aren't. Comparatively, there absolutely isn't. Should there be?
I don't know.
Who knows? But there aren't. I want to speak to something, and I kind of wish I had a second to think about it before I started running my mouth because now you're listening.
It's all right. We're just setting fires.
If there's one thing I'm good at,
we didn't stop.
I can't. I love that song. I can't sing it. Not in good conscience. There are different levels of being an entertainer. And you could be on stage where somebody bought $40 tickets to come check you out. Mm-hmm. God bless you if you're doing that. If you're playing in a bar, and you were talking earlier about being concerned if they're listening, right? You should be concerned that they're listening 100%. Oftentimes, you're not the object of the spotlight. You are a facilitator. You can be a facilitator of a good time in that bar at that night, and that does not. I'm saying this to anybody who maybe has expressed or maybe feels what Charissa was saying earlier. It's not necessarily about you if you're playing your guitar in a club for 3 hours or small venue on a Wednesday night, one of those. You're making your $75 that just at the end of the week. That adds up, right? You got your $75 gig, $100 gig, $200 gig, $200 gig. Well, you just made your money and you satisfied your soul, your little creative spirit. I don't mean to demean your creative spirit by calling it little. You're doing all those things for you, but understand your place. Like a lot of times in those situations, you are not the spectacle. You are the facilitator. And if you think about it that way, you take yourself offline, take yourself off the hook for a second. And I've had to say this to a couple of my one good friend in particular who's doing that these days. You get a little bit out of shape when people aren't listening to him. I'll be like, listen, man, it's Thursday. People got to go to work tomorrow. Oh, it ain't about you. And I mean that in a very lovely, loving way. Like, it's not about you. These people trying to get a little too drunk for Friday morning, but they can deal with it because it's Friday morning and they're off for the weekend. Less the spectacle, more the facilitator. Yeah. On those gigs, it's about knowing your role in that way, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Somebody shut me up.
I almost like expect now. I'm so, I've done the brewery set, all of that for so long, because again, coming from a church background, everybody's like staring right at you, in church you're doing and then it's this whole, but yet they're like singing along with you too. So there's sort of this, I guess, involvement in that sense. But then, go to playing in bars and, sometimes they're listening, sometimes they're not. And then you sort of get used to that because it's like, oh, okay, you can kind of, versus I played at the Spot on Kirk recently and I've played there a couple of times, but I was opening for this group, the Hawthorns. Really great. Check them out. They're in Nashville now, but they were from LA originally. We were having that whole discussion, but I opened up for them. And honestly, and I love the Spot on Kirk, great little venue, but it's such a listening room. And honestly, it's more terrifying to me to play there than on like a big stage. Like literally you can hear a pin drop. I'm like, you can hear like breathing in the room. And I'm like, oh my God, and I'm like, this better be good. Don't mess up. Like, and I was just doing like a 30-minute set or something, but it was like one of them. I'm like, oh my God, they can like hear me breathing. Everything's got to be like.
I like how you just fixed your headphones, but they weren't falling off.
They weren't. See, I'm very animated. You all can't see.
No,
this,
I know. It's Ryan. Hope vacation is good, buddy.
As we're in July and you're hearing this live.
Maybe you'll be on vacation again.
I love
then.
telling the guys because we pre-record these things, so we're into May now. But when you're hearing this, it's July 19th. So I crack up when we're talking Back to the Future, literally. So I don't want this question to be demeaning at all, but what's it like being the opening artist for so long? And I think there's some people that are like, I'm tired of being the opening artist, but you have such grace and joy about it, literally. And I because you spoke a lot about opening up for so many people, and but now you're in a band too, and you're not that opening artist anymore.
Yeah.
So
I think that's just I love singing and I love being able to do that and just to be able to have the chance to do that. And, I guess in my mind, I'm like, it doesn't always have to, it's not even about me. I'm like, people are still hearing it. You're getting to like set a stage to set someone else up to, you're kind of priming the room to be ready for more great music, and then I get to sit and experience great music.
It's clearly perception, right? It's perception.
Yeah.
Perception. What the idea of what an opening artist is. So like we opened up for many people for so long, and like as a beginning artist, you do feel like I want to be in that next spot, right? But if you accept that and make it, I like what Jeremy wrote down, direct support. You are direct support.
Yeah,
you are direct support, and you're supporting the person that's before you or after you. And I think I love how you own that, and I think that's a lesson to be learned for all of us. to be that direct support.
Yeah, it's not always about being the headliner, about being the, and it's great. I hope to be at that point.
I think you're there.
As well.
I do. I think you're there with your new group, and I know I haven't come to see you guys yet, but that's my plan. I want to very much so.
June 2nd, Martin's downtown.
This is aired in July. That's Back to the Future. What's after July?
Hold on.
If you answer the question, I'll be mad impressed. I can't tell you what's after tomorrow.
Dang it. I know. I was like,
get your phone.
I know.
We'll ask another question because we want people to know.
Yeah, we do, and we can ask that at the end too.
But it's all perspective. So you're an opening act, right? And
And again, I preface that like I wasn't trying to be demeaning because.
Oh no,
but
not
I think
at
it's
all.
perception though too, and maybe that's my own perception.
Maybe I remember bragging when I was young. I was in this band called the Hats, and we opened for Dishwalla, and boy, you best understand. We was like, hey man, we're opening for Dishwalla. We're not counting any blue cars, but we're opening for them. And then as I got older and I got more into the industry, we became direct support, and then direct support, I was like, I don't know how I felt about it. I used to call it sonic fluff, artistic fluff. We're just getting the room ready. Mm-hmm. Whatever version of that helps you do your job better.
Yeah.
Run with it.
Yeah. I mean, again, I think the thing for me and what doing music is for me, like, I just love that, and that's why, I try not to get too hung up on like, oh man, I gotta only have original things and I've gotta like do all of this. Like, I'm just glad that I get to go out there and play music in whatever capacity and get money for it and like somewhat make a living doing that. Mm-hmm. That's like all I ever wanted. Like, I don't think my end goal has ever been, I have to be the like famous headline or whatever, but it's like, if I can just like pay my bills like singing and doing music in whatever capacity that is, I'm happy about that. That's great news. Like, so I'm just genuinely happy to be able to do that. And sometimes it's in more of a supporting role. Sometimes it's being the headliner. And, I like, being able to walk all of those lines and do it all, however I need to do it for the job I need to do.
Look, she answered my last question without me even having to ask it about supplemental income.
Did you ask the second to last one?
I did. I said, how is she balancing performing live solo
Let me mark that.
Playing full band?
So,
a lot of our younger listeners and even our older listeners, we don't really take in consideration the income here. Jeremy said something very profound, or maybe it wasn't even Jeremy. It might have been Jerome. Jerome was like, "Look, if you're looking to make a living here in Roanoke playing gigs, it's just not going to happen, But you're going to have to really, really grind, and you have to really make sure that people call you back. And so, I think some of us out there are doing that. They're taking that because you have a day job, and there's and that's.
I was able to cut back quite a bit. I'm pretty much only there like 3 days a week now.
Your day job?
Uh-huh.
Because of your music job.
Mm-hmm.
Well, look at there.
Well, so.
Which I do a lot, the solo thing really, and that's where I'm very glad that I'm able to do that, and I've been able to really, as I've been out there, and I don't have kids, I don't have I have a lot of flexibility.
But that's the kicker. I think the kicker is that you do a solo, you're able to say, okay, I'm going to take the gigs with the group, the band, as much as I can. But you know what? I'm also very free and available to take the solo acts, and I'm capable.
Yeah, and I have a bit, and so I've weddings have become a thing, like smaller weddings. That's become a thing I've been able to do. Private parties, this and that, which is great. It's fun, and people reach out to me, or they'll be like, "Oh, I saw you play at wherever, and we're doing a bridal shower, or we're having a whatever," and I'm like, "Great, I got the whole sound system. Let's do it." X, Y, and Z.
Contained.
And, it's a great spot to be. I mean, again, I love Roanoke, and I love all of those connections, and, being able to, have a lot of people that, love live music and support that.
Tons. And if you're one of these acts that take self-sufficiency into consideration, you are ahead of the game here in town. I work with the dude that does this. I play a lot of gigs with this guy every week. He takes the whole thing, the presentation, his car, what kind of speakers he's bringing. Can he do big gigs versus little gigs? Can we get to stage on time? He takes all this stuff very seriously, as he should. Takes it more seriously than me because I'm second in command, right? I'm up there showing stuff.
Second in command.
But I really commend anybody that takes those logistics on board. You are your own manager. You're managing a couple of jerks that may or may not get back to stage on time or may drop you for a better paying gig. You're managing a sound system. I understand what it is to be that person. I understand what it is to be that guy trying to rally the troops or herd the cats, so to speak. To speak back to Jerome's podcast, I listened to that one, and I think it's one of our best ones ever.
It really is great.
I was wondering, Travis and I were concerned because like we're doing this for a reason. We're doing this to cultivate the community, and really expand and give a resource. Like there's so many venues. I learned of a venue tonight from Charissa that I had no idea about. So we're doing this to just make it a little more prominent, make it a little more known that you can make a really nice supplemental income. I disagree with. Well, let me say this. I don't think Jerome's words or my opinion amount to you can't make a living playing music here.
Yeah, and maybe I misquoted.
No, you didn't. I listened to what he said. He said if you're getting into it for the money, this isn't the place. That's accurate. Get into it for the art, the community, the people you may meet. You're going to learn. I don't care where you come from. You're going to learn something.
Yeah.
If you're open to it. Will you make a really awesome living? Nah, I don't know if that's possible. But we got bands around like The Works, and I think there's another one called Mended Fences or something. They got bands out here doing the damn thing. They also have day jobs, right? Yeah. It's supplemental. It is possible to make a living playing music. I don't know if it's a comfortable living. It is possible. It's really nice that is.
Yeah,
it's possible.
It is readily available.
It depends on your standard of living. It depends on how seriously you take your art. It depends on what you put into it in terms of production.
Yes, and how much you're going to grind.
And how much you're going to grind, exactly.
So, no, and I think, again, because you're solo, and you have that ability to do solo, I'm thinking about myself, I don't like to play solo. I'm not comfortable with that. I'm not confident with that, and that's the difference. Yeah. And so, like, I wouldn't do that, but put me in a DJ stand doing weddings, okay, I'm comfortable with that. Yeah. And so just different.
Well, and that's, I think, for me, it was finding sort of what my niche is, and I have certain things that it's like a really good fit for that, and not everybody can do X, Y, and Z or sing this way or have this styling, and so there's, I've just worked pretty hard to like figure out those spots where I do fit really well, where that is something where people keep coming back, or I get recommendations, or I get.
Sounds like you've worked really hard the past 7 years.
I've been trying. It finally feels like, oh, this is like pay. I mean, I took a bit of a leap of faith of like, okay, I'm going to cut back my work schedule because I wanted to keep my Thursday through Sundays just open so that if anything comes to me, I can say yes to it.
Yeah.
And I'm able to do that. And, I have a lot more flexibilities with just, it's just me. I don't have a lot of things I'm having to juggle with any of that.
So how many gigs are you taking a week? Let's talk about that.
I mean, I had like 5 last week between solo and full band. 2 in one of the days. Sometimes people are like, maybe you should not do all of that. But
we're in the mountains of Southwest Virginia. I have never met Charissa till tonight. I have learned of a venue that is 4 miles from my house that I never learned of. And she took 5 gigs last week. 5. I love where we come from. I love what we're doing. Love it.
Yeah.
So
that's, I kind of have this joke. I'm like the cancellation girl, because sometimes, somebody needs somebody last minute. And I love being able to be like, oh, yeah, I can do that. I've got the sound system. I've got the time. I have the flexibility. Like it's, something that I'm able to just jump in and do. And, that's.
I think it was.
And.
No, go ahead.
There are people that will listen to you play. Otherwise, they wouldn't pay you to play.
Right.
God bless you, Roanoke.
Yes.
We love you, Roanoke.
So, I wanted to say before we move on to the next part of our show, that Mike Haven's episode 5 made
Never heard of her.
him. Oh, sorry, her. Made this really profound statement in one of his in the episode of talking about. We were talking about saying yes and no to things, and he was talking about how that sometimes he says yes to everything because he doesn't want that next person to get that gig. And actually, I think it's the video clip that we have.
Otherwise, you would be quoting it because I don't have time to listen to
Right.
everything we do.
So I feel like that's you. You're the girl that's ready to say yes to it all, and I love that. And I love that you're available and you're working your ass off to do it.
Yes, it's great. I mean, I feel so like coming from where I came from and like not even being sure if, I don't know, I wasn't sure when I left church world if like how I was gonna, I wanted to do music, and the fact that now I'm like, doing that mostly. Like I do more music now than
You do barista.
Than I do barista time, which
and I love that shifted for you.
Yeah.
I love that you had to do barista to live,
Yeah.
and then you did the gigs, but now you're doing what you're passionate and what you love, and there's nothing more beautiful than that.
Yeah.
Hit her with the buddy gauntlet there, Jeremy.
I'd like to think we're buddies now.
Yeah, we're
I like
buddies
knowing
now.
that I didn't know you and you're out here working this scene. I like it. Top three. You get no more, new buddy. Influence of your musical career.
Oh man.
No more.
Oh, that's so hard.
No
That's
more.
the purpose.
Okay. I feel like okay. If we have to go, because it's one of those things you'll hear like somebody else, and I'm like, oh my God. I would say if we're talking like right now, right this second, probably one of my number ones. I'm a total Lake Street Dive fangirl, obsessed. Rachel Price, like that's
What's her last name?
Rachel Price.
Yeah, girl.
Oh God,
We cousins.
I love her.
I've
You
never
said we
heard
do.
of her.
Yeah,
I've
you're like,
never
I was like, dude.
Never.
LOL. Well, they're headlining
how many
at Floyd
prices are-
Fest, and I'm super excited. But she's amazing. Again, another just amazing, like soulful female vocalist, just doing the thing with just. The second I heard her, I was like, oh my God, who are these people? And I was obsessed ever since.
Ray. Oh, cousin Ray.
Right.
Cho. Cousin Cho.
She's your like 14th cousin.
I don't know her. I don't know her from
Never
Adam.
heard of her in my life.
Number 2.
Number 2. Oh God, this is so hard.
That's why it's called the gauntlet.
I'm gonna start putting a time limit on it.
Are we just talking like favorites or like what influence? Because
I'm gonna read the
top
question
3.
one more time, new buddy. Top 3 influences for your musical career.
I mean, because I have to say that the church definitely influenced
love it.
how I sound.
What has the church not influenced?
They influenced a lot for me, but I will say, even though I'm not in that realm anymore, I don't think I would be how I am musically without that background.
Good for you for paying homage to it.
Yes, absolutely. I think, that gave me the stage the things that I bring to the table. That's where I got my chops with that, know? And I hope people feel that, even though it's not really a world I subscribe to anymore. I think that energy still resonates with me.
Of course.
And so I feel like I have to include that because that's what made me.
Sure.
So we'll put that in there.
My skill set and the church will probably never go hand in hand.
Yeah.
I can't wait to talk about that one day.
That'll be for the next.
It's rhythmic. The drummers.
But mine would be.
Yeah.
So my story would align with yours.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I got Rachel Price and the church.
church.
Number 3.
Church. Number 3. Okay, I'm gonna just go with a new one right now because I'm obsessed right now, and I just keep listening to it on repeat. She's actually gonna be playing at Rooster Walk coming up, which I'm going to this weekend. Again, this will be in July, way past Rooster Walk. But Sammy Ray and the Friends. Sammy with a Y, Ray, R-A-E. Sammy Ray and the Friends. obsessed with her vocal stylings. Like I really resonate with this. She kind of has this like high soprano voice too. A lot of like scatting, just fun, and there's like horns and the whole thing. It's just, I immediately heard her and was like, who is this? What is this song?
Sammy Ray and
the Friends.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. I would say those are my top 3 right now.
I cannot wait to go listen to this.
Go listen to it.
Question number 2 of the Buddy Gauntlet. What is your number 1 non-musical influence? Mine's beer.
Okay, I'd probably have to say coffee. I mean, I've worked in coffee for 15 years.
I was really hoping that was going to be your answer.
I mean, it has to be.
It had to be.
I've been a barista since 2007. I can make like swans in your coffee. Like, come get a latte from me. I'll put a swan in it, or a teddy bear. The kids love the teddy
Can you do a
bears.
bat signal? Okay.
Wow. Maybe.
We'll just move on.
Well, because you.
Wow.
I mean, it's not latte art if you don't freehand it. Really, I mean, you could probably do it with like a stencil or something.
Our viewers already know how big of a nerd I am.
I'm gonna work on a bat signal.
Just
I'm gonna
being
see
a barista.
I hope to get a
Could you
message
find a
from
creative outlet there, or?
I mean, I think it all, because I do love Coffee Word. I've always had a love for Coffee Word. I like people for the most part. I mean, customer services.
For the most part.
For the most part. I mean, there's some people, but for the most part, I'm a people person, customer service, and I love coffee, the ritual that it is, the thing that it is for people. You're this part of their life, like every morning, and it is something people come in for, and I like being able to be a part of that. And I also love coffee. Have to have it. I don't know. I love what that means to people, and so I'd say coffee has probably had the biggest influence, and I think coffee and music and all those things,
Great answer.
go hand in hand. So.
Is there an opinion that you've held in life? It most certainly doesn't have to be musical. That one day you just saw the other side of, you changed your mind about, you felt differently.
Oh, well, do we want to start fires or not?
Not only do I start them, I put them out.
I mean, if I'm being real, that was, like church and like, that kind of stuff for me. I mean, I was deep. I have a master's in theology, and then I
You have a master's in theology? Yeah. Is that where you
dropping that bomb at the end of the podcast?
And you got that?
Yeah, she done come in. That was an educated plant, my friend. I have a very interesting relationship with that.
Yeah.
And how it affected me musically. And it's not music and theology. It's what other people thought I should do with it. And I left one behind.
Yeah.
So here I am.
Yeah.
You know the answer to the question.
Exactly.
And now I found myself revisiting things. I have a young daughter. I'm concerned with not only what I tell her, I'm concerned with her being educated enough while other people tell her things. It's not your child, it's my child. I'm also very up for open discourse with this type of thing. So we'll have you back when we do the theological theological roundtable supported
by the Beats, Brews, and Buddies.
No, by two roosters. There'd be a lot of popcorn, a lot of coffee, and it's going to be a 4-hour podcast that will not define anything.
Here's what's beautiful. Here, we're going to end with this. Like, here's what's beautiful is that you have your story, and it doesn't matter where it was and what it is. It's here now, and you're sharing that, and we really, really appreciate you being
Couldn't
here.
appreciate it more.
Yeah. Well, I
truly
appreciate
do.
You came in here batting 1,000, man. I appreciate you. It's good to meet you.
Thanks.
Do you, before we leave, do you want to introduce this song for our guests?
Oh, okay. Yes. All right. I was really
Guests, I mean
nervous about
listeners.
this, but this is an original song of mine, but I'll give a little backstory to it because I think it'll mean a little more to what the lyrics and things are saying. But I wrote this song back, this would have been like 2017, 2018. And again, now that you've got a bit of my backstory of coming from this church background, preacher's kid, this whole thing, and then kind of totally switching gears and after moving away and going through various life changes. I was getting ready to go to a family reunion with my mom, which again holds its own things. I love my parents, have a great that can be complicated as it is when you change a lot of things about yourself in your life. But we were going to a family reunion, getting ready to head out. And I get to the house, realize I don't have my house key to, the family home I grew up in, whatever. And I'm sitting out there with just like my guitar and my luggage and just sat in the back of my dad's pickup truck waiting for my mom to get there with the key. And I wrote this song. It's called Drifting Away. And it's just sort of about just how you change, kind of like with the seasons of life and things, and being back in this place that is home, but it feeling a lot different because you've changed a lot. And so that's sort of where this song goes.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Beats, Brews, and Buddies. Charissa Joy, such a pleasure. We can't wait to have you back.
Thank you.
So
Can't wait to
fun.
come back.
Yeah.
This
So
was
fun.
so fun.
This is Drifting Away by Charissa. It's Joy, but it's the Charissa Morrison project.
Yeah, this is on Spotify if you want to hear 2018 me.
Look her up on Facebook, Instagram, I assume,
Mhm.
Twitter, and all that.
I don't really do the Twitter,
Fine,
but
Instagram.
Facebook and Instagram, Charissa Joy.
All right, guys. We'll see you guys next time. Have a good evening.
Just sitting here watching the light peer through these chestnut trees. Stuck outside the house 'cause I forgot my keys. Thinking about this place that I called home. This place that I have grown, like the leaves on these trees, drifting away, drifting away, drifting away, drifting away. I've gone a lot of places